not important.
Eating the same things differently. Please welcome Adam.
When I travel, I like to see how the same foods are used in different ways at each place that I visit. Today I want to tell you about one of my favorite foods that I've discovered, the Chinese steamed bun, and how it's eaten differently in Japan, the United States, and China. In China, the steamed bun is called a baozi. Bao is the verb to wrap, and zi is a nominalizing suffix, but it also has a double meaning of small thing. So a steamed bun is a wrapped small thing that you eat. The steamed bun's filling is typically pork and vegetables, mostly pork because it's Chinese food, and it has a white, soft wrapping, which is made out of just a very simple dough. The dough is thick enough so that the juices from the pork, when they seep out, they get soaked up by the dough, but they don't make it too soggy, so you can still eat it with your hand. But it still allows the steam to come up and cook the pork. The steamed bun in China is something you might make on a Saturday morning with your mom, and it's not something you typically get like at a restaurant as an entree. Where you will find it is from street vendors and storefronts selling them in these large bamboo steamers. This is a little different though sometimes in the south of China, where they have restaurants that specialize in nothing but steamed buns. For instance, in Shanghai, one of their specialties is xiaolongbao, which is a small bamboo steamer bun. And these are served to you in small bamboo trays, like the steamer trays that they cook them in, and they have very thinly wrapped doughy dumplings, in which case when they're steamed, the juices from the pork don't get soaked up by the thinly wrapped, the wrapping, but instead when you eat them, you get this burst of just hot juices that burn foreigners, and Chinese people just love this taste. Further south in China, in Guangdong, they have a specialty called cha shao bao, which is the barbecue pork bun. Now here in the United States, if you've ever had a Chinese steamed bun, it's probably this variety, the barbecue pork bun. If you go in Mountain View to a Chinese grocery store, you can get these. Maybe a half dozen Chinese restaurants here in Mountain View will serve the barbecue pork bun as an appetizer, sometimes even as an entree. And here at Google, at Charlie's Cafe, they'll often serve the barbecue pork bun. They usually use the Cantonese pronunciation for the word, not in reference to where it's from, but because the early wave of immigrants to the United States mostly spoke Cantonese, and the words that they used for foods stuck around even as the following groups of immigrants came mostly speaking Mandarin. In Japan, the steamed bun has a different life cycle. You would never find it in a restaurant, and rarely do you see street-side vendors serving up steamed buns. The place you would find these are at convenience stores, where you find all the interesting things in Japan. Walk into any 7-Eleven in Japan, and at the counter, they will be selling what's called nikuman. Niku is the word for meat, and man comes from the Chinese word mantou, which means meatless bun. So a meatless bun somehow means a pork bun in Japanese. And these are great snack food that you can get all over Japan. Now these convenience stores have gotten very creative, and there's nothing they won't put in the Chinese steamed bun as filling. 7-Eleven, in fact, has a currymon, which is a curry rice filled steamed bun. They have the chokomon, which is a chocolatey fudge sweet filling, and my personal favorite is the pizzamon. Now this isn't my translation of the word. The Japanese word is pizzamon. And if you think it's strange to call a Chinese food sold in Japan a pizza, well, if you had anything in Japan called a pizza, you would realize that this is part of the family and just how things go in Japan. And if you still think it's a little strange that you can go to Japan and walk into an American convenience store and get a Chinese comfort food sold as a Japanese snack, well, that's just how things work in Japan. And seeing these small differences in how the same foods are used in completely different ways and have different life cycles are one of the primary joys I get from traveling the world and tasting all the different foods that we have. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam.
No problem.